Good evening. We're going to call to order the public meeting at North Hunterdon-Voorhees Regional High School this Tuesday, February 27th. The North Hunterdon-Voorhees Regional High School District Board of Education meeting on Tuesday, February 27th is now called to order. In accordance with requirements of the Open Public Meeting Act, NJSA 10-4-6 et seq., adequate notice of the meeting has been provided by submission of notice of the time, date, location to the Star Ledger on December 5th, 2023, and the Hunterdon County Democrat on December 7th, 2023. Subsequent notice of this meeting location has been provided in the Hunterdon County Democrat on February 22nd, 2024. Notice, and to the extent known, the agenda of the meeting has been posted at the North Hunterdon High School and Voorhees High School, provided to the municipal clerks of Bethlehem Township, Califon Borough, Town of Clinton, Clinton Township, Franklin Township, Glen Gardner Borough, Hampton Borough, Highbridge Borough, Lebanon Borough, Lebanon Township, and Tewksbury Township and Union Township, as well as other interested parties, and posted on the district website. Fire exits are located in the direction indicated. There's here and back. Yeah. If alerted to fire, please move in a calm and orderly fashion to the nearest smoke-free exit. At this time, please silence all cell phones. Roll call.
Ms. Cagna? Here. Mr. Chapman?
Here.
Ms. Gallo?
Here.
Ms. Hintz?
Here.
Mr. McIsaac?
Here.
Mr. Mielek?
Here.
Ms. Reyes? Here. Ms. Salino?
Here.
Mr. Stanton?
Here.
Ms. Viato?
Here.
We have a quorum. Okay, wonderful. Okay, all rise for the flag salute. The flag is located right there. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Good evening. We'd like to have our board student representatives report out. Anish?
All right, hello. Thank you for having me. So, is this mic on? I'll just yell out. So these last few months have been filled with a lot of eventful work in the clubs and sports at North Hunterdon. Before I get into any of that, I wanted to recognize the event that I just came from. We just had the North Unified versus Teacher basketball game and fundraiser here. One of the great ways that North incorporates unified students into the community. It was very fun, and hopefully it raised a lot of funds. Moving on, in the past months, we've had successful seasons from winter sports. I specifically want to shed some light on the 6 wrestlers making it down to Atlantic City for the state tournament, 5 from the boys team, and 1 from the girls team this year. In terms of sports, we've had remarkable success. All right, and looking ahead, the spring promises to be equally exciting. The theater department is gearing up for the performance of Freaky Friday, running from Thursday until Sunday, and additionally, the National Honor Society has 2 upcoming events, the Blood Drive on the 6th, and the Trivia Bowl on the 7th. Spike for a Cure will also take place on that Friday the 8th, and I want to commend the theater group for their efforts in collecting donations for the food pantry, especially following the devastating fire in Clinton. On the club front, we're eagerly anticipating the start of Special Olympics on the 12th, and the release of our North News War Report videos. The marching band will be participating in the St. Patrick's Day Parade on March 17th, followed by the Prism Concert on the 23rd. Lastly, I'm honored to mention and help organize this year's Relay for Life, dedicated to the memory of Joey Edwards. We encourage widespread community participation in this meaningful event. Overall, we're thrilled about the exciting start to the spring. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then our Voorhees representative, Voorhees is busy this evening, I understand, with Mr. Voorhees, so there won't be a report out from Voorhees. And I apologize, I jumped ahead. I need to have a call for a motion in a second to approve agenda items 4.1 and 4.2.
So moved.
Second. Kim and I
Yes.
seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays?
One
Abstention?
abstention.
Okay.
4-1.
4-1, okay. Mr. Mielek. Okay. And now we'll have the Chief School Administrator's report.
Thank you very much. The first thing I'd like to do is ask Dr. Cottrell to come up. He has some student recognitions he would like to share with the board today and the community.
Come on up. Ms. Nizik, you can join your students as well, please. Thank you. All right, it's my pleasure to introduce our senior officers of Rho Kappa, which is our Social Studies Honor Society. So the mission of Rho Kappa is to work with members of the school and community to promote civil awareness and civic duty, and to get our community involved with government. So this past year, Rho Kappa has really gone above and beyond from what they've done in the past. They've really achieved more than usual. And starting with our bulletin and our social studies hallways, which this group has done a great job of maintaining. Currently, the bulletin board is featuring a Black History Month theme, and then after that, we will be looking forward to a Notable North Alumni theme, which is new to us. And then they're going to work on promoting the election. So they're going to share some unbiased information about what to expect in this year's coming election. And then they're going to lead a senior class voter registration, specifically focusing on mail-in ballots, because what's interesting about our current seniors is next year when they go to vote, most of them will be in college. So they're going to get them registered and learn how to do that.
Also starting this year, something new that Rho Kappa has done is started leading our morning announcements Pledge of Allegiance. So in the past, we would make our morning announcements to say, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we would leave it up to each class to do that on their own. Well, this year, a member of Rho Kappa comes down each day and over the PA system leads the Pledge of Allegiance. And you can see kids stopping in the hallway to actually do the Pledge of Allegiance these days. So that is great. So thank you for that. Additionally, they've worked with our Diversity Club to deliver weekly announcements related to Black History Month. So every week we do a Black History Month theme announcement that is in collaboration with our Diversity Club and Rho Kappa. So to specifically acknowledge the folks standing in front of you today, we have Ms. Niznik, the advisor, who does a great job of leading our students. We have Emma Malay, who is the president of Rho Kappa. She is excited to pursue journalism in the fall. She is a member of our National Honor Society, Latin English Honor Society, and also a member of our dance team, Model UN, and WHAM. We also have Sophia Roberts, who is the vice president of Rho Kappa, and she plans on majoring in mathematical economics in the fall. In addition to Rho Kappa, she is also a member of our National Honor Society, a member of the Math, Science, Spanish, and Music Honor Society. She is also a varsity lacrosse player, sectional leader of Madrigals, and is a member of WHAM and Model UN. She is also the vice president of the senior class, and Anesh, as you may know, is the president of our senior class. We also have Aaronjeet Dillon. She will be majoring in biology in the fall, focusing on a pre-med track. She is the secretary of Rho Kappa and is in our Biomed Academy. She volunteers at the hospital in her free time and is a member of the Diversity Club. In addition to Rho Kappa, she is also a member of the National Honor Society, English, Art, and North Technical Honor Society. And last but certainly not least is Megan Lawn. Megan is thrilled to be attending Villanova in the fall and plans on double majoring in political science and communications. Megan is the communications chair of Rho Kappa and is a member of our National Honor Society, English and French Honor Society, and is a member of the Model UN. It's a lot to get out, but these ladies have done a lot of work for North Hunterdon, and they have a bright future ahead of them. So round of applause for Rho Kappa.
Dr. Cho, Mrs. Niznik, and all the members of Rho Kappa. The worst part is following after them. Any of our students at Hunterdon-Voorhees, it's hard to follow. So I have a few other announcements I'd like to make. North Hunterdon High School was selected to participate in the National Assessment of Educational Progress, also known as the Nation's Report Card. This assessment will be administered to select seniors on March 5th, and this is used to collect national data on our schools. Both of our high schools will administer the New Jersey Graduation Proficiency Assessment to all juniors on March 11th through the 14th. We will have 2 bus runs on these days, and that provides an optimal testing environment for our juniors who are taking the test, and then we bring in the rest of the students after that so that everybody gets a day of schooling. The midpoint of the third Martin period, believe it or not, was February 22nd, so we are slowly inching towards the end of the school year. And then finally, I'd like to read the following statement regarding some topics that have been of interest lately. During the January Board of Education meeting, we heard from many students, parents, and community members on the subject of library books. And we want to again thank them for sharing their thoughts and concerns with the board. I wanted to provide an update that the administration recently received a formal complaint regarding one library book, Let's Talk About It, A Teen's Guide to Sex, Relationships, and Being a Human. As outlined in Board Regulation 9130, a committee is being established to review the complaint received. Once they complete the review, the committee will submit a recommendation to the Board of Education. The board will then vote on whether to accept the committee's recommendation at its next scheduled meeting following the receipt of the recommendation. And if you want, you can review Board Regulation 9130 through our district website. We also have the report on PIB. So I'd like to say that during the last month, since our last meeting, we had 2 reported cases of HIB. 1 was founded, 1 was unfounded.
Okay,
And I don't need a call.
great. I need a call for a motion and a second to affirm the determinations on the HIB incidents reported at the January 30th, 2024 board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Any nays? Okay, thank you.
Okay. And your monthly reports are there for your information. If there's any questions, let us know.
And the school president's report, March 19th, 2024, that we will adopt our preliminary 2024-2025 budget, and a regular meeting will be at 7 p.m. at the district administration office. At this time, we're going to have opportunity for public comment. During this portion of the meeting, the public is invited to address the Board of Education with comments. You are requested to sign the register provided for this purpose and state your name, municipality of residence, group affiliation if applicable, and direct your comments to the school board president. While all comments will be considered by the Board of Education and a response may be forthcoming if and when appropriate, individual school board members may not respond to the speakers at the time of their appearance. The public comment period will be a maximum of 30 minutes in length unless there is unusual circumstances. You will be allocated 3 minutes to speak, and no one will be permitted to speak more than once on the same topic until all others who wish to speak on that topic have been heard. Please keep your comments respectful and non-defamatory, and maintain a level of decorum appropriate for a public meeting where students may be present and in attendance. Maren, would you like to open up the...
Good evening. My name is Enrique Hernandez. I live in Lebanon Township. My comment pertains to the issues that were raised at the previous Board of Ed meeting in January. And specifically, I noted that several individuals rose to publicly reveal that they had been victims of sexual abuse. And frankly, I was saddened, I was disappointed, but the reality is that I was not shocked. Sexual abuse, sexual harassment is prominent. It's pervasive everywhere. And it is something that I think we can all agree, every one of us, that no person, no adult, no child, no man, no woman, no straight, no gay, nor anything in between should be subjected to sexual abuse or sexual harassment. Now, this is a Board of Education, so the tool that you have at your disposal to help address this issue is in the name: education. Education I'm not naive enough to think that education is going to prevent all sexual abuse or is going to get rid of it. But I do know that sexual abuse and sexual harassment thrives in a climate of ignorance and shame. And we need to work actively to create a climate of knowledge and acceptance that human beings are sexual beings. So please use your power for good and promote education and promote knowledge. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Eric Doyle from Reddington Township, father of a junior at North Hunterdon. When I was at the January meeting, I heard about the book that has since been challenged, and I was wondering what the fuss was all about, so I ordered it on Amazon, and it arrived in a couple days. And I went through it, and I will have to say it is graphic. It is not pornographic. There is a great difference between what we see as pornography and what was depicted and spoken of in this book. By 21st century standards, none of these images are considered salacious or anything more than a little titillating to juvenile minds. In the protection of innocence that was pleaded for in the January meeting, I was wondering to myself what that innocence they were talking of is, and that is an appropriate ignorance to mature issues. This book is, it cures the ignorance, but there is nothing in it that I consider to be predatory or perverted or obscene. It will lead, if properly followed, to healthy, active, young lives being able to explore what maturity is. And it is only people who have already those inclinations for that perversion to use it for anything other than its intended purpose. And I do want you to think very hard when you're making your assessment of this book, just so we can lead to healthy communication for our youngsters in a very sensitive topic. Thank you.
John Drawl, I'm a Franklin Township resident. I just have a brief statement to make. I'm a father of 3 children who all passed through North and are no longer here. They're out of school. And I'm here because I care about this community, I care about this school, and I care about the country. That's the only reason why I'm here. It wasn't long ago where there was right, wrong, and common sense. Just a short time ago, you knew it would be wrong to have juniors demonstrating to 14 and 15-year-olds how to put condoms on. Yet as part of the Teen PEP curriculum, that's what happens in our school system today. We have children teaching children how to put condoms on. Just a short time ago, you knew it would be wrong to have books in the library that depicted sexual acts of all sorts that I'm embarrassed to speak about in public. Yet last month at this meeting, you had teachers, administrators, and union leaders from within this district, the state, and beyond fighting for the right to have this type of sexualized material available in the library for our high school children who, again, can be as young as 14 and 15 years old. And the one I get a kick out of when I think about Teen PEP is the reward system. The reward for answering questions about sexually explicit topics is the handing out of candy by student PEP team representatives. That is one of the first topics that you learn from your parents when you're a kid. Don't take candy from strangers, especially when you're talking about sexual materials. Am I the only one that sees wrong in all of this? I greatly respect the elected members of this board for the personal commitment that you make to our community. I truly do. The community needs you more today than it has ever needed you before. Can we please get back to common sense and have clear vision for what we all know is right and wrong? Can we refocus on what these kids need, which is math, science, literature, history, and the other courses that truly prepare them for their future? Post-COVID, it's truly lacking. While many in the mob cloud common sense with complex narratives about what they think what is right for the students when it comes to various topics, including the sexualization of our youth, I suggest we do like many generations before us did without issue. That is, leave it to the parents to do their job. This is a very well-educated rural community with a valued history. Parents are fully capable, and we all know that. Let's not get caught up in this era of chaos. Let's refocus on what will make our children great scientists, great business people, great teachers, great leaders, and great adults. Please apply common sense to the nonsense that's wasting all of our time. Board, this community needs your help, and we're counting on you to focus on what's really important. Thank you.
Who may I address? Board President Hintz?
Tonight, yes.
Acting President.
Vice President, acting.
Excellent. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Guy Citron. I'm a resident of Tewksbury and a member of the North Hunterdon-Voorhees Intellectual Freedom Fighters. Allow us to describe a problem at our Board of Education meetings. A vocal minority has been attending to publicly humiliate school librarians, staff, students, and books. Instead of using the rules and respecting the process, their extreme behavior threatens our blue ribbon district. It does not have to be that way. We can role model democracy for students with the community. Our board, district, and state policies can empower real discussions and parental engagement to protect everyone's freedom. These conversations can even be public, transparent, and inclusive of all voices. That is public service, Acting President Hintz. Because reading passages of books at meetings, along with personal attacks and name-calling, represents an attempt to ban by intimidation an award-winning title that is widely recognized for its educational value. The Board of Education and the administration must follow their own policies and best practices, or this toxic intimidation may grow and may continue to require our time and money that could be better invested elsewhere. We pray you stop the disruptive behavior of a small group of people whose goals are clearly political. The public demands appropriate, healthy avenues for expressing parental and community concerns. Lastly, we have drafted a set of guidelines for constructively dealing with this situation and will deliver it shortly. Acting President Hintz, thank you for your time.
Good evening. My name is Alexa Offenhauer. I'm a resident of the town of Clinton, and I am also here representing the North Hunterdon-Voorhees Intellectual Freedom Fighters. A successful resolution to these contentious board meetings would benefit everyone. So what does that look like? The North Hunterdon-Voorhees Intellectual Freedom Fighters have a vision. For students, we desire the freedom to read vibrant, relevant material without threat of criticism or accusation in a school library that nurtures curiosity, social emotional learning, mental health support, and inclusivity. We recognize that not every book is suitable for every student. Rather, every student deserves to have access to materials that are suitable for and relevant to their identities, experiences, interests, and questions. For staff, we desire the ability to attract and retain highly qualified educators drawn by a district culture that respects their expertise and the importance of their role in serving the whole student body and the curriculum. The default position of the board and administrators in that culture is to trust the staff and the curation process. For parents and the community, we desire parent-school communication based on civility, open discourse, tolerance, and respect. We support a parent's right to limit their own child's access to certain materials. But parents' rights also include respecting the rights of other families to allow their children to access certain materials. For the Board of Education, we desire a district in which the board can focus on the important work of education without continual confrontation and chaos. We believe that increased awareness of the purpose and authority of the board will lead to a more fruitful relationship between the board and the public. Therefore, to reach this desired state, a book challenge should be an unusual event that requires deliberation and rigor. The onus should be on the challengers to show an abundance of evidence that a book does not belong in the school library because it is not suitable for any student, not simply for some students. In addition, the board should rigorously follow its own policies and actively manage meetings. The board should be willing and able to redirect members of the public who approach it with complaints and challenges that circumvent the board's policies, whether those complaints are about books or about specific staff members. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Amy Barrett from Highbridge, and I'm also representing the North Hunterdon-Voorhees Intellectual Freedom Fighters. I'd like to suggest some near-term actions that the administration and the board can take to reduce disruption at meetings and perhaps avoid such frequent book challenges. First, the superintendent does have the discretion to reject the current book challenge. It should be rejected because the submitted form does not conform to the requirements specified in Regulation 9130. It is missing several items, including listing specific portions of the work by item and page number. Nor does it make a convincing case that the complainant is familiar with the entire work. The substance of the complaint consists of 26 words, an inadequate basis for launching a reconsideration process that will cost the district at least $1,600 in time and materials. As stated in Policy 2530, the district's default position is to defend students' right to read and the professional integrity of the librarian. Therefore, the burden should be on the complainant to prove that the book should not be in the library. Longer term, a more rigorous reconsideration form should be adopted by the district. Second, if the current book reconsideration process moves forward, the recommendation committee should be formed thoughtfully and include members with expertise in adolescent literature and sex education. These experts would include a teacher of sex education, a member of Teen Pep, and an outside expert on sexual health education. You also have a board member with expertise in literature for young adults. In addition, an impartial principal should be assigned to the recommendation committee. Third, the recommendation committee should use the reconsideration rubric previously created by the librarian, which evaluates books against the selection criteria specified in Policy 2530. And finally, fourth, starting at the March 12th board meeting, the board should manage public comments by modifying the presiding officer's preamble to include these words. No criticism of staff by name or policy will be permitted. In accordance with Policy 9130 on public complaints and grievances, complaints about district personnel, the educational program, or district operations should be made in conversation with the school building principal or the superintendent. Complaints about materials should be made in writing. After this preamble is read, when a member of the public addresses the board about a book complaint without first filing a written challenge, the board should stop the comment and direct that person to follow the policy. Similarly, when a member of the public complains about a specific staff member, the board should stop the comment and direct the complainant to follow the policy. I urge the administration and board to take these actions before and during the March 12th meeting. Thank you.
Hello, Jennifer Cusack, resident of Highbridge and parent of a student. My family we're vegetarian. My kid has been a vegetarian his entire life. He really doesn't like smelling meat. I have never petitioned this board to remove all meat from the cafeteria at Voorhees High School. My child has a right to not eat meat, but that does not mean that he has a right to insist that every single other student in this school district is denied access to eating meat. Similarly, my child has a right to read the books that the librarian provides, and just because another student has a problem with those books, or in this case, people whose children went to the school years ago and aren't students anymore, does not mean that he should not have a right to read those books. You know, parental rights stop at my child. I have parental rights for my child, but I don't have parental rights for every single other student in this district. Thank you.
Good evening, board members. My name is Denise Hickson, and I'm from Highbridge, and I am also a member of the North Hunterdon-Voorhees Intellectual Freedom Fighters. We're all probably familiar with a quote widely attributed to philosopher George Santayana. Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. As the district prepares to undertake yet another book challenge, I'm here to help you remember the past, specifically the numerous lapses we observed during the reconsideration progress that began in the fall of 2021. In January of 22, we submitted to you a 17-page analysis of that process, which identified numerous irregularities, and we urge you not to repeat the same mistakes now. And I've got 5 of them that I'm going to say. The composition of the 21 Reconsideration Committee did not conform to the requirements of Regulation 9130. Specifically, it lacked a layperson with expertise in the area of the work. For the current challenge, your committee should include an individual not employed by the district who is knowledgeable about sex education for adolescents. We also recommend including a student representative on the committee. We ask that a written rationale be provided for each committee member's appointment. 2, the 2021 committee did not evaluate the books against the selection criteria specified in Policy 2530. Those are the only criteria which library materials should be evaluated. As the current committee conducts its work, please refer to Policy 2530 and the rubric created in the wake of the 21 challenge. 3, the 2021 report contained no evidence from the text to back up its claims. In addition, the writing mechanics of the report were poor. We expect the current committee to produce a thorough, factual, well-written report that includes substantial evidence. 4, the 2021 committee's recommendation violated the district's own goals and the New Jersey state instructional standards. In evaluating the currently disputed book, the new committee should be mindful of district goals, curriculum, state instructional standards, student civil and human rights, the First Amendment, established precedents, and the district's own commitment to intellectual freedom as outlined in Policy 2530. 5, the 4-month timeline for delivery of the 21 report was excessive. We believe that the current challenge was submitted on February 13th. 30 working days should be sufficient time to read and discuss a 233-page book that is heavily illustrated. Therefore, the committee's report should be available by March 27th. And in the interest of transparency, we ask that the report be made public within 10 days of a board vote. And finally, we are concerned that the new committee is already doomed for repeating these past mistakes. The same administrator accountable for the 21 lapses has been charged with overseeing the new committee.
Karen Go of Highbridge. I'm speaking as a parent and a taxpayer, not as a school board member. But I do want to not speak about the challenge book, but about a different policy and remind the board that you are a policy-making body and that policymaking should not be based upon politics. School boards are not political bodies. A few months ago, a donation was tabled because the board wanted to look at the materials to see if they were appropriate. And now I see that there is a revision to policy 7230 about grants, gifts, and donations, that it now includes a piece that says the board reserves the right to refuse to accept any gift that does not contribute toward the achievement of the goals of the district. I feel like we're sneaking this in there so that we can refuse to accept the donation of books from the GLES. And again, I want to remind you, you are not political. We're here for the students. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jay Hoff. I'm from Flemington Borough. I'm one of the co-founders of Flemington QTs, Flemington Queer Trans. We're a community advocacy and mutual aid group for the LGBTQIA community in Hunterdon County and beyond. I'm also a lifelong Hunterdon County resident. I grew up in West Amwell, and I graduated from South Hunterdon in 2014. At South, our school motto was 4 simple words: work hard, be kind. I'd like to reflect on the latter half of that motto, as kindness seems to be lacking here in Hunterdon in many ways. Kindness is intentional. It is choosing to have respect for all others and living not just for the good of ourselves, but for the good of the community. Kindness asks that we approach everyone with empathy, a willingness to listen, and the humility of knowing that we are capable of both great good and great harm. Kindness also demands accountability for when we've not been kind. It cannot tolerate bigotry or discrimination, because to leave harm unaddressed allows it to continue. To be kind, we must address harm. We must call it out and name it so that we can solve it. Last week, a teen in Oklahoma was beaten by 3 older students in a school bathroom and later died from his injuries. His name was Nex Benedict, and he was only 16. He deserved a long life to grow up. He will not get that chance. I am sick and tired of talking about dead children. All I can ask is, how did we get here? How do we become the nation where trans and queer students make the news not because of their accomplishments, but because their dignity, humanity, and lives have been stolen from them? We may not be in Oklahoma, but in order to prevent a similar tragedy here in our community, we must recognize where this hits home. We cannot sing Kumbaya with those who actively wish for and even encourage harm against any group. While there are far more things we can disagree about, we cannot simply agree to disagree about the humanity of our fellow human beings. When we talk about different groups of people and ways that dehumanize them and incite violence against them, we cannot be surprised when the worst happens. You want to represent this community? Then show us what this community represents. How do we treat each other? How do we learn from each other, no matter who we are or where we're from? What dreams and hopes do we have for the rising generation, and how are we going to work to accomplish them? The least we can do is do no harm, but the best we can do is work to reduce harm, and we are asking you to do your best. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Piper Doyle, and I am a junior at North Hunterdon. I am here because I am a growing teen telling you that this book is an incredibly useful and healthy tool. Also, being someone who has grown up on the internet, I have been exposed to porn. People younger than me have been exposed to porn. This book is not pornographic. I would also like to note that banning this book isn't just banning a comic book about sex ed. Art, literature, sex ed as a whole, and even science are now at risk. I have seen naked bodies in my biomed class all the time since I was a freshman. Saying that human bodies as a whole are pornographic is just entirely wrong. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rose Hanley. I'm from Bethlehem Township, New Jersey. I'm also a 1987 graduate of North Hunterdon High School, so long-time proud resident of our community. Also a former New Jersey public school teacher, one of the hardest jobs I ever had. I didn't stick with it. It was so hard. So I have great respect for our teachers, our librarians, and all of our professional, highly trained, dedicated staff. I'm very grateful to have the strong educational system that we have here in our community to benefit all community members. Grateful, as I said, for our highly skilled, dedicated librarians, teachers, and staff. And I'm very concerned about the harassment that I have seen on social media, in this room, in these meetings, and in our community. And I would like to ask that the board actively and publicly support and protect our librarians, our teachers, and our staff. I'm also concerned about the potential banning and removal of books from our library, whether it be the book that is being discussed now or really any books. I ask that the board ensure that district processes and policies are followed in fair, unbiased, and unpolitical manner. I ask that the board protect the rights and interests of all students to read professionally curated materials of interest to them individually. I'm hopeful that we can continue to be proud of our school district and our well-educated and inclusive community, and I'm looking to our board to help support that. Thank you.
I'm going to just make a motion for us to continue the last two. We're almost at the 30-minute mark. Is motion to approve? Second? I'll second. Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Hi, folks. My name is John Hickson. I'm from Highbridge, New Jersey. And not being a doctor of social science or psychology, I'm not really qualified to give an opinion on whether the content of this book is worthy of being in the library or not. I'm just not a qualified person. Fortunately, I have a quote from Lisa Shelby, Executive Director of High Tops, a Princeton-based organization that provides youth-informed sex education for youth throughout New Jersey. High Tops is the provider of the district's own teen pep curriculum. Ms. Shelby, a professional, writes, "Let's Talk About It is a developmentally appropriate book for teens that provides medically accurate and positive information about the physical and emotional changes that happen during puberty, a developmental phase that all humans experience and for which open access to information and support is critically important. There is ample evidence demonstrating that access to resources with scientifically based information about sexual health, such as Let's Talk About It, decreases the risk of STIs, teen pregnancy, sexual violence, and increases school graduation, high school rates, healthy relationships, positive communication skills, and self-esteem. Curiosity about bodies and sexuality is a completely normal aspect of puberty. Young people who lack access to vetted information from libraries or lack the support from trusted adults often seek information through the internet. There's an overwhelming amount of content depicting sex as sexually violent, abusive, misogynistic, and disrespectful. Leaving young people to make sense of it all on their own amplifies the potential for emotional distress and skewed notions of proper dynamics, consent, and mutual respect in human relationships. It is essential that the teams have access to books like Let's Talk About It. In contrast to the concerns raised about this, that this book is pornography, Let's Talk About It is in no way salacious. Anatomically and scientifically accurate drawings are included in the service of providing essential information about anatomy, bodily diversity, consent and respect, health, communication, and boundaries. Libraries and schools are designed to be sources of information and knowledge which empowers the students to make positive, informed decisions that enables them to live their best lives. Removing Let's Talk About Sex from the North Hunterdon High School Library would be a great disservice to its students. High Top stands staunchly opposed to the proposition banning of Let's Talk About Sex from the North Hunterdon Library. That's Lisa Shelby, who's a professional in the field of sex education.
Hi, I'm Sandra Marzo. I'm from Franklin Township. And my primary reason for coming up here is that, frankly, I'm just appalled that the superintendent is not here time and time and time again. Not just for clearly, I mean, you can tell by the way I'm dressed which side I'm on and where my opinion falls regarding the books, but for all parents. Like, he's not here. I mean, I think that sends a pretty loud clear message about, does he really value parents, communities, opinions, feelings? And by the way, I have a child in this high school right now, and I have one that graduated a couple years ago. And I'll add, I'm a daughter of a superintendent. He retired not once, not twice, 3 times because his school board liked him so much that they had him come back to help out when they needed to replace a superintendent, when a superintendent left for another job. And my father, I will add, also during his long career in education was serving in the North Carolina National Guard and retired as a full colonel. So I don't want to hear about being busy. And he didn't have 2 schools like this one. He had 20 schools because he served a whole county. So this is insane. He should be here every time for all of us on both sides of this issue. I'm a former teacher also.
So next up, we're going to have committee reports. We'll start with curriculum, instruction, and technology, which is Beth, but Jessica's going to give the report this evening.
Yep.
Thank you.
So the curriculum committee met on February 21st. We reviewed the items on the agenda that are up for vote. The committee supports the items under the curriculum agenda. So we are recommending that we approve those. We reviewed a presentation on the common assessments administered in the district, and the presentation has links in the agenda. The conclusion was that the common assessments are a way to monitor student progress along with the standards of the district, and that we'll also have some summer hours to develop common assessments for sophomores on the April personnel agenda, which we'll be looking at in the coming months. We reviewed the second marking period grades for the year, and an estimate of about 85% of all the grades were A's and B's. The second marking period grades for 2023 and 24 were very similar to the grades that that were reflected during the 22-23 school year as well. We will continue to monitor grades as the semesters move along. We also discussed the PSAT. The PSAT changed this year to computer adaptive, which is more difficult if students get questions correct, or could be easier if students get questions wrong. The results of the students in 10th grade were better than last year, while the results at the students in 11th grade decreased from the last year. We're going to continue to correlate the results with the NJSLA, and we'll continue reviewing the PSAT results each year. Is there any questions about the curriculum meeting?
Okay, so no questions? Thank you. Okay, so we'll need a motion and a second to approve agenda items 9.1 through 9.5.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? Okay. All right, next we have Policy and School Security Committee report. Kim?
Yes. We discussed second reading of policy 8500. That is where the only discussion was to confirm that the language related to COVID and the need for a walkable pickup site was removed and modified to better represent our district. Everyone was in agreement with the new language, and we are moving that for second reading and approval. Abolishing policies 8540 and 8550 because they will now be, they're all encompassed in 8500. So no further discussion. We're recommending the abolishment. Board, it's moving to approve this policy. Thirdly, we had a discussion, revision of policy 7230, gifts, grants, and donations. We discussed the monetary threshold that would allow the superintendent to accept gifts and donations without board approval. Added into the agenda and recommend for board approval. We also had discussion for policy 2530 that was tabled, but we did consider discussion. We discussed the two forms of book reconsideration presently in use. One is for the public to fill out requesting reconsideration, while the other is used for the committee to report their findings to the board. We agreed that the forms can be reviewed and for potentially modifications or future reconsideration requests. We also had an admin update as to how the school handles a complaint of harassment by an employee. Mr. Berjaks reviewed the steps taken to ensure an employee's safety if they are subject to harassment or intimidation from parents, community, or the general public. And in every situation, the committee was assured the information we received to law enforcement to determine if criminal charges should be filed, and that the district also takes necessary steps internally, such as asking security to be more present in the areas where the staff member works, offering escorts from and to the employee's car, checking in regularly with the employee to ask how they are doing, and following up on any additional information the employee can provide to substantiate any claims. And lastly, briefly, Regulation 9130 was proposed for was on the agenda for discussion. We discussed the terminology used in 9130, such as the term department head, which is also on the reconsideration committee reporting form. We will be looking at that language as compared to Strauss-Esme and make changes to present to the committee if appropriate. This will be discussed at our next meeting. And that was it.
Okay. Any discussion?
I have a question about policy 7230. It's titled Gifts, Grants, and Donations, and as reading it as a new member, I just wanted to find out if it talks about land grants, so would that also include grants that are awarded through the Department of Ed? And also monetary donations, it's not clear whether that's in the word as well.
It would include
Okay.
that, yes.
Okay.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, can I have a motion and a second to approve agenda items 10.1 through 10.3?
So moved.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Any abstentions? Okay. All right. Good, Katie? Okay. And the next on it is John Mielek. It's Finance, Facilities, and Transportation Committee report.
Sure, thank you, Tara. Our committee met February 20th virtually at 6:30. Everybody was there. Our big topic of conversation was this year's budget. We're into budget season at this point. Even the governor gave his address today. I believe Katie, correct me if I'm wrong, he wasn't touching everything. Still as we expected, with the one item that we were aware of. This is the last year of the phased-in reduction in our state aid. So this is the last of 6 years, but that we will be that will be part of this year's budget. We'll be coming with our preliminary budget at our meeting in March on the 19th. Tentatively, we're looking at a 2% tax levy increase to offset the increased items, that comprise most of our budget. And we've been working on this, Katie and the committee, for the last several years, looking at a potential fiscal cliff approaching our district. It seems to be a little bit dampened. However, we are concerned about the long term. So that's why we're anticipating keeping a 2% tax increase. In past years, we've been able to utilize some bank cap and savings from referendums to help offset some of the increases. But we'll have certainly much more discussion at the committee level in March, and you'll see the preliminary budget next month. One of the ways in which we're looking to offset some of the anticipated increases will be the addition of the Polytech North Hunterdon campus, which we hope will be online by in a year. So that'll help to offset some of those cuts. Additionally, we talked about the transportation study that was commissioned from Somerset County. Unfortunately, they were unable to really come up with any significant recommendations that could help us. So we're still going to look to streamline where we can, possibly asking parents to opt out of transportation so we can tighten up some of those bus routes. But even if a parent opts out, potentially then they could opt back in the middle of the year. So we have to prepare for all these eventualities. Last thing on my report was the agenda preview. There's not a lot on here. Let's see. So the 11.1 contract with us, the New Jersey School Board Association for a change in leaving Strauss-Esme, going to school boards for a policy review and recommendation. So that's number one. Additionally, we have a donation from a North Hunterdon senior. Additionally, there were basically just the monthly reports. Unfortunately, when we met last week, there was another item that wasn't part of our agenda last week at the committee level. It's on tonight's agenda, so I would recommend tabling 11.5 so we can discuss that at a committee meeting next month. Otherwise, I recommend adoption of our 11.1 through 11.12. So I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Questions?
Yeah, any questions, discussion?
I do. I understand you want to table 11.5, but who is the donations that were provided to the school? Who's in charge of researching, or how do we accept donations? What's the policy for that?
Typically, we get a report like we did on 11.3
right.
at the committee meeting, and then we can ask those questions, which did not occur last week.
Oh, you didn't have a chance to cover it.
It wasn't on the agenda.
Oh,
No.
it wasn't on the agenda yet.
No.
So as our policy, we discuss things in committee and then make recommendations at the Board of Ed. So I don't anticipate any problems putting that on our agenda and having it go through like everything else.
Okay. Just curious.
Yeah, it just wasn't there.
Yeah.
Couple members noticed that as well.
Any other discussions? Brendan?
A budget question, bank cap. I know with the 7 years of reduced state aid, are we positioned that we're still able to use bank cap, or is that strategy run its course and we're sort of at a minimum?
There is no more bank cap available. We have used everything that was available to us.
In prior years.
Correct.
Anybody else?
I had a question about the I guess the district property that's damaged or obsolete. There's some VHS equipment, there's some library books. And I like on the library books about what the reason was for it, but how do we determine how those books are replaced? If they're, what determines that they're outdated? There's just a lot of specifications. I don't think that is kind of relayed to figure out how these have been selected. I've seen a couple of this coming, but I haven't seen anything coming from Voorhees, so I'm kind of questioning the whole process.
Yeah, so I don't know about Voorhees. I'd have to check to see when we approved any waiting lists, but it's a standard process that our librarian has explained before. They go through, they determine what books are damaged, no longer used, or there's low circulation. You know, I guess
Is there a process also similar to like when things come in that as they go out, there's certain like either the supervisor or assistant principal or somebody has to review them coming in and out?
Yeah, it's my understanding the assistant principal is doing some basic research. He can't read every book that comes in or goes out. So,
I get that.
You know, but they do whatever they can to make sure it's appropriate.
I know best practices are usually books that have outdated information that are informational in nature, or they've been superseded by a more recent publication. And I think that's the most typical responses that you'll see: outdated information or superseded with a new title that's presumably already in the outdated one that's removed.
And we did try to at least label them that way, so at least the board members know whether or not something is superseded, whether or not it is in poor condition, damaged, or low circulation.
Okay. Ryan?
This is a question on 11-1, the school board's contract. Is this a, so we had some brief discussion of this in a policy committee. Is this a assessment? We're just signing a contract for them to do a one-time thing? Or is this the contract that switches us over?
Kim?
Or,
You know?
This would be turning to NJSBA. So it would take, it's rolling all of our policies over from Strauss Esme to NJSBA.
so,
That is what the contract is for.
so it's like there's a 9K charge, which is kind of like the initial assessment. And then, is it in here, and I just missed it, what the subsequent deal is? I mean, the financial deal, are we signed
We're
up?
saving.
That's a
You'd have to
conversion
ask
charge.
Katie.
Yeah, the $9,000 was, they have to read, all, and kind of
Yes,
assess, like, what
The numbering system is
idiosyncrasies
different.
that we introduced to the policy manual as a board. But is there a piece of this that says, and then from here on out, every year, we're gonna pay them X?
Yeah, that part of the contract is not on here yet, but there is a
That'll be
contract
a-
to have them.
After.
There is going to be another contract to have them host our policy site, just like Strauss Esme does.
Okay, so tonight's vote is on spending $9,000, or, yeah, $9,000 to have them do this kind of evaluation. Like, how hairy is this gonna be? You guys have a lot of,
No, it's
No,
not
it's
an
just a
evaluation, it's
process.
conversion.
It's a
to
conversion.
convert our policy, and then once they convert all of our policies over to their version of the policies, then we will have a contract that will allow us to host that on a website, so that we can then have that available for the public.
That's already negotiated, correct?
Correct.
why was there a decision made to separate those two contracts? The conversion and the continuing
I think that's our
obligation?
onboarding.
Stop me if I'm wrong, but
Really, it's based on the budget year, so we would be taking this contract into account in this budget year, 23-24, and then we would go to renew with their services for next budget year. So that would be a separate contract.
Okay.
it's going to be a 4 to 6 month process, is what we understand, to convert the current policy manual into their format, and we don't want to spend the annual fee for their hosting during that 4 to 6 months because it won't be complete then.
Okay. So one last question, is this like irreversible? So let's say that when this new contract comes up, it says, yeah, we're gonna give them $1 million a year to host, to make our changes, and we go, whoa, I'm not signing up for that. Because I don't know what we're signing up for, other than the initial $9,000 reboot.
Sure, so the annual fee that school board charges is $19.95 a year.
And so for,
$1,995?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
so So, yeah, and then it's a savings, not human, but it's a few $100s a month savings per Strauss Esme's cost.
Yeah, this is a tiny.
Yeah, yeah, a little less than
We know when the conversion is done, do they do sort of like a line item comparison to represent or capture dimensions of policy that the district may have designed or enhanced or added over the years to give us that recognized opportunity to say, all right, at some point, we modify the policy to say this, that, and the other. It's different than Strauss Esme and different than school boards, and they will draw attention to here is something that you've changed in the past that's perhaps not in either policy, and we want to see that that's preserved and carried over.
Yeah,
I don't know the process.
That's why it takes so long. I believe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
Exactly
the
right.
policy committee
Yes.
will be reviewing all of those items
Okay.
and then recommending it to the board.
Okay. Anybody else? Any other discussion? Okay, so can we have a call and a motion, a call for a motion, a second to approve agenda items 11.1 to 11.12, sans the 11.5 at this time?
Do we need to have a motion to remove 11.5?
We do, okay. Wait,
Well, the motion was to approve all
table.
those, including the table of that, to review next month.
okay, do we, Andrew, do we need to do?
No, you can do it all in one.
Okay, all in one. Okay, so motion is second to approve agenda items 11.1 through 11.12, sans 11.5, that will be put on policy, facility committee for next month's discussion.
So, yeah, so moved.
Sorry.
All in favor? Aye. Nays?
I'm voting yes, except for no on 11.6.
Okay.
And I am voting no on 11.6.
11.6 no. Reyes?
I voted no on tabling 11.5, and I also abstained from 10 to 12.
10 to 12.
Any other nays or abstentions? Okay. Motion carried? Okay.
Is there anything else?
She's doing the math.
I'm just doing the math.
Oh, okay.
But
You were looking at me, I was like.
Motion
did-
carries?
I was supposed to-
Okay. Motion carries.
They were looking at me.
Okay,
And I
thank
saw
you.
it. Is that?
Next is Community Relations and Student Affairs, which the committee did not meet this month. We will be meeting next month. And our next line item is the Delegates and Ad Hoc Committee. Was there any county meetings?
No, Unsung Heroes is March 12th. Rich, correct me if is that correct? 12th? 14th?
And I believe North Hunterdon already has a unsung hero submitted. Wonderful. I haven't seen Voorhees.
Do we have
so-
Voorhees?
I haven't seen it yet,
No, I
so
haven't seen
we'll
it yet,
ask
so
on that. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, wonderful. And delegate is not until May, so we will report out on that after that delegate meeting. Next agenda item is personnel for committee report. Jessica?
It's very brief. We met on the 21st. We discussed the agenda.
Wonderful, thank you. And then our next is, we need a call and a motion and a second to adopt resolution 022724-2 for executive session to discuss matters falling under category 8 as reflected in the attached resolution. The board expects to be in executive session for approximately 1 hour, and upon return to public session, action will be taken. I need a voice.
So moved.
So moved.
Motion, okay. Okay, and any, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions? Nays? No. Okay, executive session.
Did you need?
motion and a second to reconvene public session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Abstention? We're back in session. Okay. I also need to call for a motion and a second to approve agenda items 17.1 to 17.3 and to include hand carries if provided. Is that Brendan? Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
It's a roll call.
Aye.
A roll call.
Roll call.
Sorry.
Ms. Cagno?
Yes.
Mr. Chapman?
Yes.
Ms. Gallo?
Yes.
Ms. Hintz?
Yes.
Botran is absent. Mr. McIsaac?
Yes.
Mr. Mealy?
Yes, except for 17.2, I'll abstain.
Ms. Reyes?
Yeah.
Ms. Salino?
Yes.
Mr. Stanton?
Yes, but abstain from 17.
And Ms. Beato?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, open it up for any old or new business.
I do.
Okay.
Maybe Maren can help. Is there an updated 2024 committee assignment in our folder on the drive? I didn't see it. I saw 2023.
I know I put it on the website. I'll double check the Google folder.
And can we have the weighted vote on that?
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Any other old or new business? Okay. Well, seeing there is none, I'd like to call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved. So moved.
All in favor?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Abstentions? We're out of here. Thank you.